My name is Peter Huszcz. I came to Canada in 1989 from Poland, Szczecin, as a visitor. Whoever came here from Poland knows how difficult it was to leave Poland and come to Canada. I was one of the last Poles who came here on a special permit that they allowed for people from Eastern Europe, and I was able to be in Canada while waiting for my landed immigrant status. I left my family in Poland, and it's supposed to be 6 months for them to join me, but it took 2.5 years with the red tape of Canadian government for me to get the landed immigrant status. After that, I was able to sponsor them, and they joined me. But during that 2.5 years alone here in Canada, of course, I had to find a way to support myself. Practically, I didn't know anybody here. I don't have any relatives here in Canada, so I was basically on my own. And interestingly, I came here on Friday, and Monday I was working in a restaurant to support myself. During that time in the restaurant, I was doing, of course, dishwasher job, because this was the most important job in the restaurant. I was good at it, so the owner said, "Okay, you have permanent job," and of course they were asking me later on to do some more complicated chores, and one of them was making meatballs. Doing that, I thought there must be a better way of making meatballs, and I invented a meatball maker, and the marketing name is Meatball Magic. Of course, this is just a short talk about how to introduce your idea into the market, because that's not easy task. Everybody knows about it, but I was probably persistent enough to do that, and this product had big success first in the States and then in Canada. And mind you, it's still selling it's still on the market after 20 odd years being introduced to the public. So this is the short story about my invention. Another story is after 2.5 years, my family arrived, but in the meantime, I opened my own business that's supposed to be a temporary business because I was trained in Poland into automotive and mechanical industry. So I said I'm gonna become a mechanic here, seeing that every driveway had 2 or 3 or more cars. I said this is good market to be in, and that's what I decided to do. But not having much money, I decided to do it mobile because you don't need as much as big investment as opening stationary garage. And this lasted over 30 years, so I'm still doing it. I'm still Mobile Mechanics Canada Limited. That's the name of the company. And I've been doing this for, as I said, over 30 years, and it's being successful business. Of course, people were asking me, why don't you expand and make, many more trucks and big business? But I said to myself when I came to Canada that you have to set up your limit. You have to ask yourself how much is enough. And when you answer that question and you're making enough, it's enough. So that's why I didn't go crazy expanding things and you know, have maybe a little bit more money in my jeans, but head like pumpkin and dealing with something that I wouldn't have control over. Other interests that I have in my life, and nature. I was born in, as I mentioned, in Szczecin, in the suburb of Szczecin, and I grew up in a very, very natural environment, in nature. And every day I spent around nature, trees, and way to school was a few miles uphill, and downhill it was through bushes, and it took me usually a few hours to get back from school. Of course, my mom was not very happy about it, but this is what I like. I mean, nature gives me the extra energy, and I discover that in every inch of nature there is a sign of God, because you know, it's so fascinating and so intriguing, so complicated, and we just scratching the surface looking at things, and we think we know, but basically we don't know anything. You know, we just see what we see, but there is many other things going behind what we see, and you know, and that's what I try to explore, and that's why nature fascinates me. One of my customer, when I visited him at home, had a birdhouse, and kind of odd-looking birdhouse. And being from Poland, we don't have houses like that. So I asked him, "What is this bird about?" And he told me that's purple martin, and they nest in man-made houses. That really interests me, and I said, "Oh well, I gonna see how I can get into these birds." And of course, I built a birdhouse at my house, and the place that I work mostly in summer is Nepean Sailing Club. And they had a very, very old, small purple martin house with few purple martins in it. So I asked them if they would allow me to build a proper house for the birds, allow me to landlord the house and take care of the birds. So they agreed. I designed, built, and erected a house. And next year, the house filled up. And a couple of years later, I built another house, and the house, both houses filled up with martins, and that was just very exciting, and especially taking into consideration fact that the birds, this is their Ottawa, and Ottawa River is their northern boundaries. So there are not too many birds of that kind here in this area, and I managed to kind of create or attract so many birds that, you know, this became a kind of public attraction. The bird is a starling size swallow. It's the biggest swallow in North America. Of course, migrating bird, and comes here for summer and goes in winter. It goes to central Brazil, which is over 6,000 kilometers, which is amazing for a bird like that. The oldest bird they found, it was 12 years old, but average I would say 6-7 years. And all my birds in my colony are banded by me, because I do banding every summer. Of course, this is not I'm doing it, but you know, this is all regulated by government, and there is some, you have to have license to do it, and all that stuff. So it's done the proper way. This year, after 17 years, the house has started to deteriorate. So last winter, I decided to design to make new design and build 2 new houses. And of course, when you do something like that, project like that, you're always afraid that, okay, I'm gonna build and there won't be any birds. But this year is just probably they heard that there's new condo and it's filled up already. I didn't tell the birds that the condo fee went up, so they might be a little bit surprised this year, but hopefully they won't take off before they raise their young ones. The banding sessions are open to the public, and they are, in most years, they are first Saturday after Canada Day. So this year is gonna be on the July the 3rd. So my my colony was spotted by I would say scientists. That's what their claim to be. And they did some study on my colony, probably making doctorates and some other titles. So one year they came with the idea to put GPS devices on my birds to make sure that, to find out how they fly, where they fly, and what they do. So during that study, we put 12 small backpacks of the GPS device, $700 each. So whoever watches this, you contributed to it because it was government sponsored. And 3 birds came back. Because this GPS device couldn't send any signal, so it was just collecting that data. So you have to recapture the bird when they came back and take the chip and put into a special machine to see what was happening with that bird. It was amazing data to know that they fly. One of the birds flew 1,000 miles non-stop. Let's say, like small bird like that, over water. Of course, the data was so precise that they knew where the bird was sitting, which tree or branch of the tree, or in the whole journey. But what I was trying to say here, that we, of course, the scientists, of course. I tip hat to them that they have that kind of interest, but they are not really into it. Funny story I'm gonna tell you, that the scientists, they say, so Peter, what do you think about their day of arrival? Is the weather contributing to their timing or any other things? And I said, no, they always here on the April the 17th, like to the day. And they said, yeah, we studied this for 10 years and we agree that's what's happening. And I said, so why you didn't ask me? You did 10 years study and probably wasted of thousands or 10,000s of taxpayers' dollars. Why you didn't ask me or someone like me to tell you? And they said, yeah, we could, but it wouldn't be scientific. so that's a and so so what I'm trying to say, that you have to be with nature to understand it and to decide what's good for it. You cannot be sitting in the high-rise downtown building and make decisions about something that you probably don't know much about, or you don't have a feel for it. Maybe you have some numbers, maybe you have some, but nature is not numbers. Nature is feel. Nature, you have to be with it to feel it, to be able to figure out what's good for it or not. So that would be my message to people that make big decisions about putting something or not putting something, or to save the blinding turtle or whatever. So it's a little bit more complicated and more complex than most people that sit behind the desk know about. But I wanted to save the best for last. I have a wife. Of course, I was married in Poland, so I have Polish wife of almost 4 years now. And 3 children, son Kasper and 2 daughters, Sofia and Martina. And exciting news that I became a grandfather 7 months ago. So we have a little grandson, Alexander Michael. And that's another, probably, you know, I'm already thinking what I'm gonna teach this little guy with my I would say, inventive desires. So I cannot wait till he sees my shop and till I introduce him to my tools and all other stuff that he's gonna be probably amazed by. I have privilege to put words together. Unfortunately, or fortunately, it's in Polish, but all the Polish audience that are gonna hear this, we're gonna understand the poetry that I'm gonna recite right now. And you know, we were talking about nature, and this poetry is about nature, and the title is Szukanie ciszy. Szukanie ciszy. Za zieloną ścianą lasu, tam, gdzie jeszcze nikt nie stąpał, tam, gdzie ptasie od hałasów, gdzie się bieli stokrot łąka, gdzie się żółci od kaczeńców, złotem sypie jaskier ostry, gdzie rozzłoszcza się szaleńczo cietrzew dumny w kroplach rosy, gdzie jaśminu zapach słodki szemrze pszczół zachwytem wielkim, gdzie się złoszczą wilk podlotki, wykrzykując głosem cienkim, gdzie noc ciszą na las siada, a głód światła miesza kształty, gdzie brzmi trzaskiem czajek zwada, a kuropatw krzyk rozdarty ciszę przerwie, na warg drgnienie, na ocknięcie przypomnienie i wolności dawnej posmak łzą zabłyśnie i pragnieniem.